In this quick video guide, we're going to see how we can work with the grid in Blender, how we can set up the absolute grid and the visualization and also the snap to do like modular modeling. So we can edit and do some objects based on the grid. So let me just start with a new general file. And this is how it's supposed to look like when you open up Blender. And this is the grid in the gray, and the red is the X and the green is the epsilon. So what we're going to do is, before we actually get into the grid, let's check in the scene. So here on the right side, we look for the scene panel, and this is where you find the units. Units are really important because this is what you're going to visualize in the view in terms of the grid also. So for example, if I change here the unit scale, so this is gonna convert the actual scale. You can see it's also affecting the grid. So by default, this is set to 1. And by default, the length is into meters. So meters means that each line that you see here on the grid represent 1 meter distance. So if I move this object like from one grid line to the other, you move the object of 1 meter. So this will help you to work more precisely if you use the snap. And then you have other units here, but the one we need for the grid is this one here. So this is the default which we're going to keep. Otherwise, you can also change this into imperial, and essentially you can customize it as you like. Now I'm going to keep this default in meters. So the other way we can customize the grid and the visualization especially is up here. So you can also turn off everything at once. So all the things that are part of the representation of the light, the camera, the views, axis, etc. Or you can click here and you can go like one by one. So floor is the floor grid. So this is how you can turn off the floor, and you can also turn on and off the axis. So you may want to visualize more or less. Now you can see also from here, in this part, this is the grid. It's considered the grid. While we are in 3D, this is going to be called the floor, and this is not affecting anything. So depending on which view you are in, things can be visualized or not. And also we have other settings here, but the most important one is the scale. So this is how you can change the scale. Now if I zoom in, you can see, especially here in the floor, we don't see any subdivision. So this is 1 meter distance and that's it. If I go up here and I change the scale, let's say to 0.1, it means I'm gonna see, well, each single square now is 10 centimeters. And then I see the brighter lines that represent 1 meter. Now, if I go further, if I get far away, we start to see the meters, and the major lines will be the 10 meters distance. So it's also affected by the zoom in the view. So some disappear, some appear, depending on how much you zoom and depending on the settings you have done here and here in the visualization. If I set this to be 10, it means that I'm only going to see like 10 meters distance in the grid. So you can set up this as you want. If you want to see the centimeters, you can go 0.01. So you can go really small. And if I zoom in, you can see the little centimeters. And even further, if you want millimeters, you need to go 0.001. So if you want to work with millimeters, there you are. So I'm just going to keep again the 1, which means I'm going to work with meters. And if I use the snap, if I want to use the snap to work more precisely, I select the object, select the snap activation here, and the increment, it means that it's going to use the units as snap. So if I move this, well, now it's snapping directly to the grid. So also the grid is a representation of the units in a way. But if I increase, let's say, the scale of the grid a little bit, and I move this, you can see this is the increment is following the grid. So also you need to check the absolute grid snap. So this is gonna again snap to the grid. And if I go here in the options, check the origins. So now I can move the origin independent from the object. So let's say I want to like snap the origin in there. Well, I cannot use the snap to the grid. I need to use the snap to the vertex. So I can snap it right there in the corner and then turn off the snap to the origin. So now I can place this cube exactly there on the grid. And so I need to change this again to the increment. So now if I move it around, it's going to snap to the grid. So I can move it now. I can edit my scene using the grid and using 1 meter modular editing. And now if I want to model, I go to object mode to edit mode, and I want to do polygonal modeling using the faces. I just click there and just move these. There you go. So I am using now the grid to create some modular object. If I go in edit mode and select faces, so I can select the faces, I can move these faces around. I can extrude also. So I can change here, extrude. You can see now I'm extruding. So I am basically creating new faces and a new, more complex object, which is going to be modular, kind of a Tetris situation. And you see the grid is going to help you a lot. So this will be all for this video guide. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please subscribe to the channel to stay updated for more, and also check out other courses that we have in Blender for architecture, for sculpting, etc., or the Blender course, the basic Blender course. And that's it. So thanks again. If you want to support us more, you can join the channel as a supporter. See you in the next video.